4, 3, 2, 1. All right. And we are here with our very first ever Zoom podcast for the JR Takes. We're giving our immediate reaction to the Sunday afternoon game. Even though we're doing it on a Monday, we'll be doing this henceforth every Sunday evening just to give our immediate responses on what we see in the games and as well as what we see around the league for week to week and what's to come. So with that being said, Ryan, good to have you on here. And
Yeah, good to be here. History is being made. First ever Zoom pod.
yeah, and it's turning out to be easier to set up than I thought it was going to be. I mean, granted, it took me 20 minutes to get this thing all figured out, but and of course I had Colby helping me out. But yeah, it's I'm excited to kick these into high gear and make this sort of a weekly thing.
Yeah, definitely makes it logistically a lot easier. And well, overall, I mean, pending what your thoughts were on the Apple Cup, that was a pretty dang good weekend of football as far as results go. Seahawks get the W. Huskies obviously followed the Cougars on a last ditch effort on fourth down in the red zone. 49ers lost, Rams lost, and we'll get to it later, but they're both pretty banged up right now while we're relatively healthy, all things considered. So the season is about off to as good of a start as you could have expected for a first year head coach, I would say.
Yeah, real quick before we get into NFL stuff, the Apple Cup, it was a tough loss. Terrible play call on that final play on the goal line. I don't know what that was. It was awful. But congrats to the Cougs. Happy for them. You know, they went through a lot this off season. So
Yeah,
yeah, I wasn't too upset when they pulled out the dub.
I'm not like a
It was good to see.
passionate fan of either team, so I can usually watch them as a pretty neutral observer. And I was happy they won, being the Cougars, just because, yeah, I mean, they got royally fucked this offseason with the Pac-12 dissolving,
Mm-hmm.
with like this rivalry game being moved from its historic spot and kind of being a shell of what it used to be, being the Apple Cup. So good for the Cougs.
Yeah, good for them. But anyway, aside from college football, moving on to the NFL, just I guess we'll just get right into things. It was just one of those ugly games that I think we're going to look back on and every team has to have a game like that, I think. An early game on the road, a game we should win but proves to be harder, said than done. Um And I really love the way Geno played. I think Geno really came into his own in this game and is kind of the reason we won.
Absolutely. I mean, we had no offense besides him. Charbonnet was averaging 2.7 yards per carry, and that's with a pretty big play to close out the game. So there was just nothing doing on the ground all day against what's turning out to be a pretty stout defensive front. I think the injury to Kenneth Walker is more impactful than we could have probably guessed,
Mm-hmm.
because we're just missing that spark in the running game without it. He's so explosive. New England's defense, I know leading up to the game, in last week's podcast, I said I thought they were pretty good. They are very good. I think this is going to be at worst like a top 12 defense this year. The Patriots have some really good players, and I know they also have a first year head coach in Gerard Mayo, but I mean, it kind of reminds me of what's going on with Houston right now, where you have this defensive minded guy like D'Amico Ryans and Gerard Mayo that were players what feels like not that long ago, and they were just in this, in the trenches themselves. So that seems to really translate pretty well to being a decent head coach. But Gino won this game for us, plain and simple. To throw 33 out of 44 for 327 and a tutty with 4 or 5 drop passes against that defense that was really kind of all over our guys the whole game. I would put this as a top 2 Geno performance of all time. It's going to be hard for him to top his Lions game in 2022, where he was like perfect. But what's wild is Next Gen Stats said that Geno did not throw a single off target pass this whole game. There
Wow.
was every single pass was where it should be when it came out of his hands this whole game. And besides the interception last week, which they technically don't count because he got hit, he hasn't thrown an off-target pass all season. Granted, it's 2 games, but yeah, I mean, Geno has been as advertised for the good Geno through 2 games so far, which is just pinpoint accurate.
Yeah, I think that was the first game for me personally, because you know how what my thoughts are on Geno. Think I think he has limitations, and do I think we could win a Super Bowl with him under center? I don't know if I do believe that, but I definitely feel differently towards him and what I think this team can accomplish after that game yesterday, because he was doing things that I didn't think he could do. And when we were down, what was it, a field goal, and we had to drive almost the length of the field to put up that field goal at the end there, which I'm very glad we did not go for two. I mean, not go for two, go for it on 4th and 1. But I
Yeah, I
just,
would have hated that. Even if we got it, I would have lost like all my hair before we got the first down.
yeah, I just feel like so many times in that situation, Gino doesn't normally get the job done. But after yesterday, I was like, man, I have faith in this guy that he can drive it, do the 2 minute drill, and win us a game. And I don't know, I just when we didn't kick that field goal right before the second half started, and you and me both were like, man, I really hope that that doesn't come to bite us in the end. I kind of thought it was going to be the reason we lost, because
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't think Gino was going to be able to do what he did. And sure enough, he wrote me off. So, or no, I wrote him off and he didn't write me back.
Yeah, how many times does he have to teach you this lesson, old man? I agree, though. I really felt like not when we went for that 4th down with Charbonnet. Also, didn't like that play call just for with how the game was going. Our interior offensive line was getting pushed around. We couldn't run the ball, and points were really at a premium with how both defenses were playing. I wanted to just take the points there. I know a lot of people will say you should always go for it in that situation because of statistics. Sometimes you gotta it's a little untangible, but you gotta just account for the vibes of the game. And to me, that was a
Agreed.
that we were kind of playing with house money there. Like it was a little rich for me, but it didn't end up mattering because Julian Love gets the absolutely clutch blocked field goal that really, besides Gino himself, saved the game for us. And then, of course, the good guys got it done when they needed to the most to get that field goal, to get those 2 field goal drives. And um, a guy I have not really sung the praises of at all so far, Jason Myers. It's been perfect on the year. Granted, he still makes me wince every time he kicks, but he's made all his field goals and extra points. So shout out to Jason Myers.
Yeah. What was it? The field goal to tie it that made us all almost
It
have a
was
heart
it
attack.
was the one to win it. I'm pretty sure because it
Okay.
was it was hugging that left upright. Like
Yeah, that's the
it
one I'm talking about.
he
That
likes
one.
to keep you on the edge of your seat for sure. Because he always plays like a fade. He's like a golfer with a little bit of a slice.
Hmm.
Um, but anywho, yeah, man, I feel like this was the game that we really saw Jackson Smith and Jigba take hold of the wide receiver 2 role in this offense because he came alive. He had the one drop on 1st and 20 that kind of it was a little killer, but 12 receptions for 117 yards on 16 targets. That's like everything you could want out of a wide receiver 2 in this offense. And then, of course, DK with the monster highlight reel 55-yard touchdown catch where he just burned 2 guys on one play. And that's a good secondary that he did that to as well. And he finishes the day with 10 receptions for 129 yards on 14 targets.
Hmm.
This offense, I got to say, so far through 2 games, Grubb looks so much better than Waldron because we're not just running these dumbass bubble screens to JSN. Like there's actual creativity. You
Which,
look
by
at
the way, you see the drama in Chicago right now, how they're all whining
All
about not having an offensive identity. Welcome to being a Seahawks fan for the past year.
Yeah, I saw a Chicago Bears fan post that he just posted in all caps. Shane Waldron needs to be thrown in prison with like four exclamation marks. And I'm like, okay, it wasn't just us. We're not crazy. But Grug he was dialing it up. Gino was cooking. I'm really excited to see what this offense can do when they start to click a little more. Maybe we make another move on the guard position because once again, Bradford and Lake and Tomlinson were massive problems in this game.
Also,
Not quite as bad as last week, but not much better.
what's been going on with Noah Fant? He is dropping way too many balls.
That's not really his thing in the years past, too. I think he's just kind of injured right now because he looks a little
Mm-hmm.
slower. And he's been on the injury report every week. I got to toss it up to as a fluke. You remember that game where Gerald Everett against the 49ers a few years ago,
I
like
do.
almost somehow lost the game as a tight end for us? Noah Fant had like a game just slightly better than that because one catch on four targets with two drops, maybe three drops. Like, dude,
And
he
those
catch.
drops weren't, if I'm correct, weren't one of those drops on a very critical third down.
Oh, it would have like won us the game
Yeah,
if he caught that. I don't remember if it was third down, but right before we had to kick the field goal to tie the Patriots, he had a chance to maybe score if he catches that pass and was at least going to get the first down. And it just hit him right in the hands, and he's got toaster hands all of a sudden.
well,
It was
I mean,
ugly.
I know JSN had a great game, but I mean, he even JSN dropped that. I think that was a third down play,
It was
and
first and 20. I know what
or
you're
oh
talking
yeah, yeah,
about.
it would have gotten
Yeah.
us a first down on a first and long,
Mm-hmm. DK
and
also had a drop. I mean, we just for as good of a day as we had in the passing game, like it's crazy to think that we had like four drops because if those had been caught, Gino might have gone for like 37 of 44 with 365 and two touchdowns, which would be like, you know, peak Peyton Manning type of performance.
right. Yeah, honestly, I was very surprised with the way that Jacoby played against us because their offense in comparison to ours, I mean, I guess we'll just look at the numbers here. We had pretty similar stats as far as the total yards go, but in passing
Through
yards,
different routes though, for sure, because uh Jacoby was held in check really that whole second half. It was the first half he was just finding Hunter Henry again and again and again and evading pressures and escaping sacks, and you're like, what is happening? We should be killing him.
yeah, I felt like the way he was playing was like the perfect formula for game manager to keep his team in the game against a team they shouldn't beat, but they're at home, so they got an advantage there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just felt like he managed the game perfectly. You know, they gave they just pounded the rock with Ramondre, and I didn't even know that Antonio Gibson was on the Patriots, but apparently
I didn't
he
either,
can
but
cook
now
us
I
on the
know.
ground from time to time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you
100
average almost 9 yards a carry against us, and we'll remember that you're on that team. 96 yards on 11 carries is not what you want to see given up by your defense. And I will say that was the number one disappointment coming out of this game because even though Jacoby made some good plays overall, you give up 150 yards to a quarterback in the year 2024. You had a good day in the passing game, but giving up, over 170 rushing yards with like 6 yards a carry ish,
mm-hmm.
that's got to get tightened up because that if we get ran on by teams, it doesn't matter if they're like the Patriots and are very limited on offense. They'll stay in the damn game because that keeps the score low because the drives last so long, especially when you give up third down. So it's weird that, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. We got rid of Pete Carroll, bring in a new guy, and this felt like you could have put this game in any year from 2012 to 2021.
That's what I was just gonna bring up. Was in the beginning of the game, I was kind of in the back of my mind worried, like, oh no, I thought the losing to the Colt McCoys and the um he's really the only one that comes to mind. But what Andy Dalton? I mean, I feel like all these older
You're giving
quarterbacks
me like
during
PTSD right now.
during the Pete era would like just it would be death by a thousand cuts with them. It would just be check down Charlie, slant over the middle, and I was worried that that was what yesterday was going to turn into. I didn't I but of course we went all out to essentially stop Jacoby or Jacoby in the second half, so it didn't really come to fruition there, but man, it brought me back some of the horrible flashbacks of the dark days of
The
you know
bad Pete defenses.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one difference being the pass rush was, I thought, really good in this game. They didn't get home all that many times. I think I don't have the stat in front of me. I want to say they sacked Jacoby Brissett either 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
But someone we haven't talked about much, Derek Hall looks like he's making that second year leap right now because he had a huge hit on Jacoby on their last play of regulation. He got a sack. He had probably like 2 or 3 more pressures. Boye looked awesome. He banged his knee up a little bit, but it doesn't sound serious. And some pressure for the interior with Leonard Williams and the rookie Byron Murphy, each collecting a sack. That's everything we had hoped for in this offseason with all these additions we made.
I know I should know this, but is Uchenna Nwosu still hurt?
Yeah, he might be back this week. I feel like it's still going to be another week.
Mm-hmm.
At this rate, I'm a little confused that they didn't put him on the pup list because I think you have to miss 4 games or short-term IR, whatever it is.
Right.
But he has a chance to be back. Um, I guess maybe we should save the preview for the in-person pod for the next game. But
Yeah. Yeah. We
definitely a lot to say about that after what's happened in the last week in the NFL. But yeah,
well.
overall, I would give the defense probably like a B minus for this game,
Mhm.
and the offense about a B as well, just because Gino was so good. But Charbonnet made a few good plays. He had that game-sealing run and scored a touchdown as well. But he's a third down back, man. I don't think he's an every down back in the NFL because we just every time Walker's been out, the run game has like cratered to nothing, and it's a concern just
I
for
agree.
when
How many
Walker's
times?
not out there.
Well, how many times have we asked Zach Charbonnet to do that? Because I know
I think this is like the 4th start he's gotten. I might not be 100% on the numbers there, but he started a few games for us last year because Walker missed like 2 or 3.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. What I saw from Zach was the lack of speed, or I guess what I didn't see from him, and that was the speed.
Yeah.
And I did like the blocks he was laying when when I think they said it late in the game, when they were uh running like checks through the defense, and they were trying to figure out if they were running man or zone, and then Zach would come over from the outside and start to block. I don't know. I thought it was all pretty interesting the way that Ryan Grubb was calling the game
Mm-hmm.
and using Zach for a lot of the pass block
He did a
protections.
really I think it was on a play. It might have been the play. Do you remember when Gino hit JSN over the middle for like 20 yards on 3rd down?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy throw from Gino on that play. Probably his best throw of the day, for the record. But I think it was on that play he had Noah Fant and Charbonnet come in as like wings in
Mm-hmm.
like they weren't next to Gino, they were slightly in front of him. So they were almost lined up like fullbacks. And they acted just as 2 more linemen, basically. And that's what gave Gino enough time to sidestep to the left. I don't think I've ever seen that before, at least from the Seahawks, and just a really creative way to mitigate the problems we've been having in the interior of the offensive line.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm just looking at some stats over here, trying to find.
But yeah, Fanta, another positive note, Pharaoh Brown, I think he will be back this upcoming game against the Dolphins. And I think AJ Barner's been all right in relief, but I want to say he had a penalty,
He did.
and he's a decent blocker for a rookie. But Pharaoh Brown was like the top rated blocking tight end in the league from PFF last year. So it's going to help things when we get him in there. He's not someone that's going to get like 5 touchdowns. He may only get 1 or 0 this year, but Pharaoh Brown is going to be a boost to this offense when he gets out there.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I didn't even really know he was hurt either.
Oh,
um, but yeah, honestly, I don't have too much more to say about this game. I was gonna mention to you, I think because I don't have the full Zoom, like I don't pay for Zoom, I think it ends recordings after a like 25 minute or half an hour or something like that.
okay.
So it would be good for
We'll keep
podcast
it
these
brief.
Zoom podcasts to be a little shorter than the average. Um, but yeah, so
That's all right. If we're splitting it up between this is the game review and then the real pod is the preview, then that should work out just fine.
yeah.
But I guess quick notes from our division. The Rams are down like 80% of their offense now, and they just got shellacked by the Arizona Cardinals, who look. I mean, I was kind of blown away at how good their offense looked against the Bills, but
Mm-hmm.
that's 2 weeks in a row, and now you have Marvin Harrison Jr. looking like the guy he was always meant to be coming out of a OSU there, and it, the Cardinals might be our biggest competition in the NFC West this year with how these injuries are shaking out because like 60 to 80% of the Rams offensive starting line out, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua out, both for a minimum of 4 games, potentially 8. Still waiting for
Cooper
more
Cup's
word
out for
on
4 games.
at least. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't
Uh,
realize he went to IR.
and then you go over to the 49ers. Kittle got banged up. He did finish the game, but Debo Samuel just tweaked his calf in that game, and he's going to miss at least 3 games. Christian McCaffrey might miss the whole season at this point. So the pieces are starting to crumble in our division. And on top of that, both of those juggernauts in our division the last few years lost this week. So we
And it
are
does
sitting pretty at 2-0, top of the division.
well. It also doesn't get any easier for the Rams because they play the Niners next week.
Mm.
I think. Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw because I was looking at the schedule for them, the Rams specifically, because I'm like, wow, they're 0-2. I wonder who they play next week because they're looking to yeah, they're playing the Niners at home next week.
Oh,
So
wow.
they could be 0-3 and maybe with all those injuries you just mentioned, be staring straight in the face of a must-win game in week 3.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, a team can overcome a few injuries, but when you lose your whole offensive line and your top 2 pass catchers, like even someone as good as Matt Stafford, what do you do? So, this is probably getting way ahead of things, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of a move with Matt Stafford if the Rams are just like, okay, we need to rebuild. We lost Aaron Donald, our top stars are getting injured here. Let's just start thinking about 2025 and beyond.
Right.
Things move quickly in the NFL, and if you start out 0-4, 0-5, again, I'm jumping hoops here to get that far into the future, but things are trending in possibly that direction here. I wish they weren't playing each other next week. I wish they were both playing a good team or something because one of them is going to win more than likely unless they tie. So won't help us boost our lead over the two of them. But yeah, I gotta say, I mean, never root for injuries, but you kind of love to see it as a Seahawks fan because boy, am I sick of losing to both those teams.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't realize. I mean, I know Cooper Cup went down yesterday, but having the two of them, him and Puka, being both gone. I mean, I don't like you just said. I don't love that they're both injured, but at the same time, I do if it is if my team is playing them because now I don't have to watch them kill us every and get like 20 catches each. So yeah, I the Cardinals are really kind of coming out of nowhere. I mean, I guess I expected their offense to be able to produce, but they're doing it a lot quicker and finding rhythm a lot faster than I imagined them doing so. And James Conner, he's like having a like revolutionary
I know.
revival to his career. The dude is like they're treating him like David Johnson when he was got like all these targets and catches, and it's just yeah, it's bizarre to see the Cardinals maybe being our potential biggest threat in the division right now.
It is, especially considering Buckle Up is their head coach, but he's done a great job with them
Yeah.
so far. Um, Also, just quick aside, as a Trey Benson fantasy owner, the what what their top running back is doing is like killing me because I thought Trey was going to get touches, but he's like, why would you when he's playing so well right now? So yeah, the Cardinals are going to be a tough outing this year for sure. But I think it's going to be a fun game because we do appear to have a really good passing defense.
Mm-hmm.
But Kyler Murray's mobility, it was something Pete Carroll was really good at neutralizing. But um, I don't think McDonald has played against him. No, they did play the Ravens did play the Cardinals last year, and I want to say it was a close game. I feel like the Cardinals gave them a pretty good challenge. But we'll
Yeah, I
see.
can't remember.
We're looking far ahead into the future here. But yeah, I guess overall, I think back to 2013 when the Seahawks won at least 5 nasty games like this, and nobody likes to suffer through it. But this is the NFL. There is such a small difference in talent between every team, and every team can win on any week. And you got to find a way to win games like this, especially on the road, especially at 10 a.m. when you traveled about as far as you can, sans a trip to Miami. So couldn't be much happier with the 2-0 result thus far.
Agreed. Yeah, it's tough because I've been doing terrible in fantasy. So
it,
seeing the Seahawks at 2-0, it's making things a little better.
it
Um,
helps you stomach the loss for your stupid team on sleeper a lot better when the Seahawks win, even if you
yeah,
go 0-5 in all your teams.
yeah, and I obviously I don't want to get into too much of the preview for next week, but really like our chances with the potential of Tua not being out there, with uh, uh, the possibility of us starting off at 0-3. Or I mean 0-3, 3-0. So
Yeah, again, I'll save my comments on that for a couple days from now when we do the live recorded pod. Um, but yeah, if you're going up against Skylar Thompson, I'll take those odds. That's all I'll say for now.
yeah. Well, that's pretty much all I got for this one. I don't know. Do you have anything much more to add?
No,
You
I
want to
pretty much
mention?
spewed everything that was on my noggin. So yeah, looking forward to doing these more and looking forward to the game preview coming up maybe Thursday, Wednesday. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, hold on. I gotta check my work schedule here real quick. I'm pretty sure I work 1 to 8 on Wednesday, so I don't think I will be able. Yeah, I work 1 to 8, but I work 11 to 5 on Thursday and 5 to close on Friday. So I could do during the day on Friday or after work on Thursday, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we could pull the game up on Thursday, record then maybe or something.
Okay,
That'd be
cool.
maybe a good time.
Yeah, sweet.
All right, man. Well,
All right.
awesome.
Well, this was fun. We'll be doing this. What you want to do this? Let's see. We play at 1. You want to just do it right after the game next weekend?
Sure. Yeah, why not? There's a little lull between that and the Sunday night game. So let's
Yeah.
just make our rapid reaction Sunday a new JR takes tradition.
Cool. Yeah, and then we'll have two different types of episodes being released every week. It'll be fun.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, good pod, and we'll do this again on Thursday.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep. Later.